Hi folks, well after the success of the last video about how my thought process is for getting my papers together, I've been asked to show the next steps. So for me the next steps are assembling my signatures. So I've printed off all my papers as I showed in the last video, and I've folded, scored and trimmed the big ones, all my printed papers. So I know the length of the book I want to make, so I trim mine down to 8, and I think these are 5.5 inches, these pages are, because my book will be 8.5 by 6 roughly. So I've trimmed everything. I've got the background papers which I've made a little bit smaller, so they'll be 8 by 5, and the same for those ones. And I've assembled some, I've just pulled out some of the Tim Holtz papers, which there'll be one in every signature, and I've got some designer papers. And then what else have we got? Up my coffee dyed papers. The last journal I made had the lace in, and I'd stitched on lace onto 6 of the pages. Didn't look right, so took 3 out, swapped them, and I'm going to use them in this journal. I also had a play with digital stamping. It didn't quite work out. I mean, the images have come out lovely, you know, front and back. I've still yet to figure out how I coffee stain them without the ink running, but there we go, we'll give it a go. Right, I roughly split my main images. There'll be 2 to every signature, so 3 signatures, probably about 12 A4 sheets. Hey, I'm UK, so they're A4 sheets in each one. And I've printed, this is a Deli Girl backing page to go in the centre, and that one will be my opening page. So to get them started, I roughly assemble my papers. So I'll say take one of those, one from each pile, because it just makes life so much easier if you're doing it like this. Maybe another tea stain, and then I've got a little one which will go on there. Where are we going next? Actually, no. Let's put that one in there, that one in there, and another one of those I think would be nice. So what have we got? 1, 2. We'll go for one of these little birds, and then one of those. As you can see, very technical, not. There we are. That's the only thing I hate about these Tim Holtz papers. I can never get them off straight. Maybe one of those there. And for the moment, because I need to trim some of the designer paper down, because then the idea will be to fold it over. As you can see, highly organised. So go in the middle. I want my page to be 5, 4.5. Yeah, we'll go for 4.5, which then gives us a nice deep pocket. Fold it in half. That one's got to go in. These bits I save as these are what will make either the tuck spot. So I've got that one. Oh, these I showed in my last video, a couple of books that I'd found. Just if you have a look at the top, you can see when you pick up a book that they're sewn in, so you can get a whole page out like these. So I've just trimmed it off, if you can see. I've just very carefully cut the centre of that particular signature, pulled 3 pages out, and I think maybe just one in each signature. Simple. Now somebody suggested this one I have got to show you. I bought these 1933 originals. Blimey, these are the staples I dug out of it. They had rusted, so it is genuinely authentic vintage. Somebody suggested that I scan them and put them in, but they're still going to be under copyright, so that's not going to be practical. So I want to, if I can, keep that. So the idea will be to trim just down there and then put them in. I get rid of this, put them in that way, maybe just trim a bit of the side off. So then there'll be that one to go in, and the other one, music paper that I bought, which has got, now these things are brilliant because they just pop off. It just means I keep everything in a folder. So we'll take 3 of those. Nice blank one. Now it looks very new. So I've got that one to go in, which, let's find something that needs, so that will probably go there, although it might get moved around a bit as we go through. I don't know about you lot, but I make hell of a mess in my shed. So I have a messy mat, just an old baking sheet. So spray it on. Now you can either dab it or use your trusty right. We have, it's still a bit damp, which can then, I quite like leaving these on, but I think it depends how tall the papers are going to be. So that one can then go in. I'll tell you what I have forgotten to put in. I like to put my lace papers in towards the front of every signature, not right at the front, but towards the front. Right, that one will need trimming down, but I can sort that out after. And then that one can go in. So once you have the basics, there, then you can go about adding, say, tags. Well, I had, there we go. This is a bit of designer paper that I've had left over. So that will just be folded in half and then put in at some point. I've got a couple of these somewhere. There we go. So those will just be all assembled. Well, assembled. They'll be put in a rough shape so I can see where I'm going, where I'm at, what needs doing where. So I get an idea of what it's going to look like. Right folks, I've trimmed everything to size. Slight problem with a bit of lace. That was obviously, the journal was a little bit smaller on the last one. I may actually just keep that in there rather than, it just adds a bit of extra texture to it. So what I've come up with so far, we've got this, by the way, is going to be the giveaway. And then we've got the Tim Holtz, the little one, my first ever attempt at digital stamping. We've got a bit of designer paper, some more images, and music. That's my vintage book. So I've cut down 2 tags out of that, my leftover scraps, and it's trying to find somewhere that needs a bit more. I think those look alright. That could do with a bit more. This looks a bit plain. Now then, next one. I think we'll go there. And there we go. Right, there are what will be 40 usable sides, not counting like this Tim Holtz and these little note cards. These journals are, to be fair, meant for writing on. And I do try to leave as much space as I can. I do add lots of bits, but I don't add much in the way of pockets to these journals. Oh, I've forgotten that. That's got to go in somewhere. Where are we going to put that one? Oh, actually, that looked nice right at the front. It fits with the lace. Yeah. So that can go in there. No ledger paper in sight, I have to say. Just some very pretty elements, and I think sort of theme is music. Because it's birds, it's music. The colours have got to match. Or they've got to be neutral, I think, for this book. And that is roughly how I get my signatures together. What I will do next is put them on the trimmer and just take off this very edge here. Not much. I don't mind if it's not all the same width, if I push it all in. But I'm not a big fan of leaving all these right on the edge. So I do tend to trim them off. There you go. Right, so that's how I assemble my signatures. Trim it down, and then if I want to round corners off, that's the next step. And then after rounding corners, then what I tend to do is I distress the edges of my printed pages. So there we go. That is how I get my signatures together. So I've already sort of gone through the papers. I've shown you how I sort of get all my papers together and mess them around and do whatever with them. Right, that's it folks. If you want to see anything else, you'll have to leave me a comment and we'll see where we can go from there. And thanks very much for watching. Bye.